Life's a game, and you're your main character. Today, we're talking the rule of three. I've just had so much fun with the rule of three, and I've been incorporating it a lot into my teaching now. Because the rule of three is basically this. You learn something 3 times, and then the transformation happens. This is within all the fairy tales. If you really study fairy tales, you'll see the rule of three in action. Not in the sanitized ones where they shorten it because the parent only has 5 minutes and they just want the kid to go to bed, but the actual deep fairy tale. Cinderella, there was 3 nights before the prince finally found her and brought her back to the castle after the ball. Snow White, 3 times the wicked queen visited the house before Snow White finally was wakened by the prince. The rule of three also is incorporated in the number of people or the number of situations. It is absolutely powerful. And if you even look into nature, the rule of three exists. 4 seasons, 3 months. Birth, 4 trimesters, all with 3 months. It's cyclical. It's powerful. And today I am going to be talking about it not in the birth space, but in the gaming space. Because, I also noticed with the rule of three is that we are basically in a spiral as we are going through our lives. And things keep coming up again and again. Old lessons keep coming up. And we may not be consciously aware of it, which means that you can't recognize how to game properly. So I am a gamer. And I love RPGs. The reason I love RPGs is because I can basically create my own adventure. I like to find treasure. I like to basically complete the game, and I love the story. If a game is just like a first-person shooter or a platform game and there's no story, it's not going to keep me as engaged as a nice epic tale, which it may take me longer to complete. I've got other things to do. But at the same time, I'm immersed in that story. I don't want to lose out on that story. I want to watch that. Now, here's the thing about gaming. There's levels of that as well. And I recognized this the last time I was playing Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, where I was like, there's a whole other layer to this that I do want to teach on. And I'm finally able to do that. So the first thing is there's the observer, the person who goes onto YouTube and watches somebody else play. But if you're watching somebody else play, you don't actually get the full experience. And I like to watch the gamers because I can kind of see I'm stuck in a level and I want to figure out how to beat it. But I also recognize that I need to be paying attention to the pattern, not their strategy. Because if I pay attention to their strategy, it doesn't work for me. There are some people, it's like, how do I beat this boss? I need to know what the boss's weak points are. But somebody else who's more magic inclined, for instance, and they have more magic attacks than what I bothered to train my character up to learn, because I have a different strategy, I'm like, okay, but that's not going to work for me because I don't do those attacks. I'm not proficient in those attacks. Like, I'd have to learn a whole set of new skills, and I really just want to beat this damn boss because he keeps handing my ass to me, and at the same time I was so close. So just give me the little bit that I need to get where I need to go. So sometimes I have to watch different people play. But the other thing you need to understand is that if you're watching something ahead of time because you're like, I had my ass handed to me and I need to now see how to do this, it's different to watch it than it is to actually implement it. So, we are always experts when we think, this is the way I would do it and I want to mitigate risks, or I'm a little bit riskier and I would totally just go for it. Yeah, you can say that. But then your ass could get handed to you, particularly if you're also playing with a team, which I don't do, to be honest. I don't play those team games. That's my son's thing. And he's 12, so he can be kind of a jerk sometimes. I'm not going to lie here and say that he's a perfect, nice team player. No, sometimes when he's playing those horror survival games, he's recorded the actual sounds that certain monsters make when they're close, and then he plays that through the actual microphone, and his team members think that that monster is in the area when really it's like pulling a fire alarm when there's no fire. And I'm like, that's really mean. Because, they freak out when that monster gets to that sound. They're like, oh shit, and they panic. But he thinks it's funny because he's 12. But the thing that you really need to recognize is that if you're out in the field actually playing the game, not just watching other people play, you recognize it's actually much harder than you thought. So, we observe people that have a level of success, and we think they've made it, that they know what they're doing, right? That's what we're taught. And, there's those YouTubers out there, and they're doing their games. They've got a channel. They've got followers. They must know what they're doing, too. But, I sit there with my son, and I watch these because he really likes Poppy Playtime. And I was watching it for the story, not so much for the gameplay. But I noticed that even this so-called expert was getting their ass handed to them over and over and over again. And I'm like, why? Why are you still doing this? Why didn't you edit this part out? Like, this is not fun for me to keep seeing these jump scares of this monster. Just beat the damn monster and cut out all of this extra stuff. I just came for the story. But my son, who's actually played the games, is like, he doesn't even know what he's doing. You need to do this and this and this. And I can see how it goes. And I can see what the actual pattern is before they can. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you have to actually play the game to see that. And, I used to be somebody who would just watch. I'd watch other people who were better than me, or presumably better than me, to play these games. And you can do that, or you can get in the game yourself. You can start to try to learn those skills yourself. Instead of watching other people that you envy and admire, you could actually try to do the things that they do. And then you'll start to see things in a different way. This then goes into the next layer, which is where the rule of 3 comes in. You can't be good at a game unless you've played a level at least 3 times. The first time, you might get through it, barely making it, skin of your teeth. The second time you play the game through, you kind of know where things are in the area. You kind of know where the map is. You might not know all the secrets, but you know enough. And then the third time you play it, you've mapped that thing out, and now you're basically looking for all of the extra things that maybe you didn't do before. If you really get mastery at a game, then that's when you create time trials and you game the game. But then there's another level. Create your own game. Come up with your own system. And this is basically how I approach my work. I first started by watching other people, and I'd pay attention to their levels of success, and I'd watch where they were making mistakes, and then I'd apply my own theories, and I'd watch how that turned out. And then I'd try things myself. Before actually getting more help, I'd try things myself. So when I got into trying to build courses at the very beginning, I was like, okay, I'm going to try to make my own webinar. I'm going to make my own challenge, and I'm going to implement those skills. But then you get to a point where it's like, okay, I kind of got an idea and I want to make it better. Well, then you learn from higher level mentors who really teach you the secrets. Because sometimes when you're playing a game, it does help to go onto YouTube and be like, well, wait a minute, where are all the treasure boxes? Because if I go and get all the treasure boxes, I have a bigger weapon that I can use, something stronger, something more effective, and then my ass won't get handed to me as many times. So I'm looking for those treasures. I'm looking for that information, the nuggets of wisdom from multiple perspectives of different mentors. And, I could just go and get a gamer guide, but I prefer to actually see where something is. So I get onto YouTube and I'm like, okay, show me where all those treasure boxes are. Don't tell me, show me, so that I actually know where they are. And then I can see it and I can be like, okay, got it. Now show me, how do I beat this particular boss? Okay, now it's easier. Now let's get into the bosses for a second, because that is another thing. You're going to come across obstacles and fears that you had that kind of set you back before. And they're going to keep coming up again and again until you are able to beat them. The first time you come across a demi-boss, you might get your ass handed to you. But what if you bypassed all of those levels and tried to take on the big boss? If you said, no, I'm going to use my whistle, like Mario, and I'm going to go straight to the end levels. The end levels are basically a buildup of all those skills that you were supposed to learn at the lower levels. You skip ahead, try to take on the boss, you're going to get your ass handed to you. You try to get that ultimate treasure before you've taken on that skill level to be able to handle it, you're not going to be able to handle it properly. So you need to recognize that everything is a lesson in life, and it's a chance for you to upgrade your skills. But if you keep trying to bypass to get to the end, you're not going to be able to actually sustain it. So within my business, I recognized, okay, I need to gamify my process. I need to basically create my whole thing like an RPG. Where are the treasures that my people will need to find to be able to do a do-it-yourself path? Versus who's going to go and get that study guide, the self-study path? Who's going to get the self-study guide and also have somebody that they pay to help walk them through it and upgrade their skills? And who is just going to go to the master themselves, the architect of the game, and be like, hey, architect of the game, how do I beat this level in the most efficient, fastest way possible so I don't get my ass handed to me? Information is free. I only charge for access to me. But even within that layer, I was also looking at my own gamified process. What things do I need to put into this game for people so that I'm not going to also deplete myself? Because I don't just want to create one game, I want to create many games. And if I'm creating many games, I can't focus on just one forever. So I wanted to make it to a level that would be sustainable. And this again is where the rule of 3 comes in, because I started to see there's 3 paths, there's 3 layers within the paths, there's 3 is just everywhere. And if you go through something once, you kind of understand it, you know what's in it. You go through something again, you go and get the treasures and the aha moments. You go through something a third time, now you have enough skill that you could implement it, you can have actual success with it, and then in addition to that, you can create your own. And I'm now at the level of creating my own. I'm constantly looking at ways to create things, and that's part of why Carly Uncensored exists, is because this way I can impart my wisdom, and maybe I end up teaching the same thing 3 times before it's dialed in, and then I go and create a whole series around it. I create a challenge around it. I create a self-study program around it. I create a coaching program around it. And I'm constantly building on those layers. So again, have you played RPG games? Do you know just how incredibly ingenious they are? You go through the levels and you beat the monsters and you realize that you're actually much stronger. You go back to the worlds that you already defeated before, the other levels where you were still learning, and you go and you find new treasures and you realize that you're much stronger, and then that gives you the confidence to go against the big bosses. You go back into your past, you see what you've already overcome, you realize that you actually have a lot more than you thought. In my case, I went back and I checked out what I was doing in 2015, which was I was a birth advocate looking to get very visible and to make an impact for somebody else. And by doing that, I recognized all of the things that were not working in my life at the time, that were kind of in the way, and I still overcame them. For one thing, I didn't have a supportive partner. I was pregnant with my second baby. I didn't have any help taking care of my toddler. And I didn't have the know-how and the skills of marketing that I have today. So all of that was working against me, and I also didn't see my own worth and power. I was still thinking that I was a lowly birth advocate and nobody would really take me seriously. So I was propping up somebody else's brand, and then that was also limiting me as well. But seeing how much I was doing, even at the lower levels, even when I wasn't conscious of the game I was actually playing, the game that the universe had basically said, this is your game, and this is what you're going to be doing, and you are the hero, and you're also the guide, and you're going to go through this process, and you're going to map this out. I didn't know that at the time. I do now, because I went back through those levels, and I saw, oh, every single skill that I ever learned, every monster I ever defeated, every treasure I ever uncovered that I maybe didn't know was that valuable back then, is actually leading me to this ultimate weapon now to beat this big boss and to get this ultimate treasure that I'm going to value so much more because I went through those levels. So wherever you're at in the journey, I just want you to remember, this is a game. You basically are in a game of your own making. Now you can either be complaining about the game or you can game the game. And when you know about the rule of 3, then that might even help you further on your path, because you're like, oh my goodness, I get it now. I get it. I get why that happened that way. So that's what I have for you today. I hope you found value in this. Remember, I have more magic on Carly Bondurant Uncensored. It's in the link in my bio on my YouTube channel. That's where I scatter the magic. Right now I'm in the process of also adding transcripts. And these transcripts are going to have like highlighted bits. So bold text, colored text. There's a little code within that. So for anybody who happens to know the actual trail and the code and the magic that is being woven into the actual story or into the way it's taught, they might actually know that there's another level. There's always deeper layers. The deeper you go with me, the more you uncover. The closer you are to me, the more you'll see. Because everything that I teach, I have the surface level, I have the other levels, and then the deeper you go, as I said, the more treasure you're going to uncover. So go check that out if you haven't in a while. And make sure that if you find value in it, you pass this on to others. Because not everybody gets to be within my social media. And not everybody has Instagram. Not everybody's on Facebook. But YouTube, oh my goodness, that is a playground. That everybody goes on YouTube for things, right? So I do have the YouTube channel, and I do have the transcripts coming. And if you are in the birth space as well, I have some powerful trainings that are now completely free, and I'm building more within the Empowered Moms community. So just reach out to me again, because my love language is bug me. And I just want to let you know that the weekend is upon us. A kid-free weekend. I love my kid-free weekends because, you know, I can keep my schedule open for anything aligned that could come in at any moment. And, you know, if I got a certain text or a call or a message, you know, just something small, doesn't even have to be very long, just to say, hey, it's time to meet up. Well, for certain people, my door is open. And for certain people, I am happy to take all my big plans and have them broken. Because I like to dive into my little wonderland. And I I also really like to go deep with people that have reached a certain level. And, it's just light me up, right? Just light me up. And yeah, that's pretty much the message. Go and treat life like an RPG game. Have fun with it. And yeah, and if you caught the deeper messages, well, then you're probably in the inner circle, and you know what to do, don't you? Exactly. All right. I love you so much, and have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you soon. Namaste.